If you clicked on this video, it's most likely because your funnel or your content is attracting people who just cannot afford your program. Unqualified leads, right? These are window shoppers. These are people who are broke, maybe don't have enough time, have too many objections to buy. Your sales team hates you, it's a mess. And in this video, of course, you're going to learn how to reduce your unqualified leads by up to 90% without losing volume, most importantly, without losing revenue and actually gaining revenue. Because the big problem that I see people doing without even realizing it, they'll have an application form, they're going to change a few questions, they're going to ask people directly, how much money do you have to invest into my program, or something along those lines. Then their application completion rate just completely plummets and they start just losing money, right? Maybe they get more qualified leads, but that extra volume doesn't really lead to more money, to extra money or extra cash being collected. So the real solution is looking at your funnel as a whole, right? Looking at your traffic, so your content, what is the audience, the leads it's attracting, and your conversion mechanisms. So this is your funnel, of course, your low ticket funnel, whatever funnel you're running, VSL funnel, free community funnel, webinars, whatever it is that you run, this is going to apply to it. Now, one thing you can do with your traffic, your content, that is just extremely easy, and some people still don't know this, which is crazy. In your Instagram settings, okay, if you go to your Instagram right now and you go to your settings and the restrictions that you have on specific audiences, you can block every country in the world, including the United States, whatever country you're from, and you can block those demographics, right? Especially there's a few countries that you might be thinking of right now, up to the age of 25. Check this out. It's extremely easy to do. However, the problem is if you right now have an Instagram audience, which is, let's say 30%, 40%, let's say that country is India. I love Indians, but to be fair, people from India don't always have the most capital to afford any sort of program, even low ticket programs. So let's say that's someone you want to block. You can do that, and you can block everyone from India up to the age of 25 in your Instagram. The problem is if you have a 20%, 30% Indian audience, well, now you're losing a third of your audience, and that's just going to lead to a drop in engagement and you essentially having to rebuild your content, right? So very important to understand. And it's not like you just lose a specific demographic from a specific country under a specific age. When Instagram sees that your content just gets a third less engagement, well, now they start pushing it out as much to more qualified countries as well. So what do you actually do to filter out your traffic better? The first thing is use speech as a filter. Do not post edits. Please don't post lifestyle edits. If you're in some sort of biz op offer or any offer in general, right? Don't post edits. I don't know why, right? But a lot of third world demographics are unfortunately attracted to lifestyle edits, right? Possibly because it is harder to get in third world countries. I'm from a third world country myself. And the other thing there is, like, you don't have to understand what's being said in the video to kind of get a dopamine hit from it, right? So when you use speech as a filter, right, and you speak English, someone now has to understand what you're speaking about in order to get any sort of value from the video. And if they don't, well, they're gonna unfortunately have to scroll past it, right? Because they have no point in watching it if they can't clearly understand the language. And the other thing with that is accents, right? If you have a UK accent, an Irish accent, any sort of specific accent, you're more likely to attract people who speak English with that specific accent. And that's because of familiarity. Now, the next thing you can do with your traffic, your content, right, to attract a better lead quality is start targeting specific ICP pain points. Okay, don't just target desires, right? Avoid universal desires. So for example, let's say you sell to coaches who want to make 50K per month. The problem is if you start making videos about the easiest way to get to 50K per month with content, or as a content creator or as a coach, everyone and their grandmother, maybe not their grandmother, wants to make 50K per month, right? A McDonald's worker who is making 2K per month wants to make 50K per month. Because if you work at McDonald's and someone is just showing you this blueprint to make 50K per month, why would you say no? This is actually something that we tested with my content partner, Lionel, who has a personal brand. He started by making videos targeting specific desires, right? He would make videos talking about 5K per month, coaches at 5K per month versus 50K per month, make these all, different videos targeting a financial desire. The lead quality was unpredictable. Yes, we would get 300,000 views, 500,000 views, okay? But the lead quality was completely unpredictable. And it's because of the reason I just mentioned. Now, when we switched that targeting to targeting specific pains that the ICP has, our ICP has, right? Whether that's inconsistent revenue, which implies that they already have revenue, or it's content, right? A lot of creators and coaches struggle with creating targeted reasons, like I'm explaining here in this video. They struggle to create targeted content that attracts their ICP. So ICP specific pains, we actually started getting our ICP. Did the videos get a little bit less views? Of course, but we got a lot more qualified leads per video or per view when we were getting 500,000 views. Another thing that you can do in your content is add associations that your avatar, your ICP has, okay? So in our example with creating content for coaches and building a brand, helping coaches, we started making associations that people in the info space have, right? So we started making content about TGR, Brez, and mentioning these names in the specific context of targeting pain points, right? So making videos comparing the content styles, right? If we're targeting a content pain point, making videos targeting the content styles while showing examples of how TJR, Brez, all these people use those content styles to sell more coaching. That's what attracts more coaches, right? Because just ordinary people, unlike being attracted to making 50K per month, they cannot really understand those associations, right? So they don't necessarily get attracted to that content. So you have to reverse engineer what associations do people understand within your niche versus people who might also be in your niche, right, or in your space, maybe from different countries, right, unqualified countries, who don't understand those associations. So they just wouldn't resonate with the content and they wouldn't watch it and wouldn't build up in your audience. And you have to understand how to target your avatar specific pain points. Okay, I'll give you another example, bringing up India. A trader in India won't have the same exact problems as a trader in the US. Sure, they're going to lose money, right? They're going to struggle. But number one, the amount of money they lose per trade is probably very different. So it's a different pain. And the things they struggle with in life because they're losing could also be very different, right? So for someone in India, that could be, I don't know, not being able to buy food. Right? For someone in the US, that could be not being able to buy a car because they lost money trading. Now, the final thing you can do with your traffic is disqualify in your content, right? And this applies to VSLs, and this also applies to just any long form, short form content, right? And the way this works is literally calling your avatar out in your content. It's as simple as that, right? So I'll give you another example that I saw someone else who's big in the space use in their VSL, right? They start their VSL, instead of organic VSL on YouTube, by saying, if you have 2 case studies, I'm going to help you do XYZ. Or if you have 2 case studies and you're struggling with blah, blah, blah pain, I'm going to show you how you can do XYZ, right? And going into a promise. What it does there is it instantly disqualifies people who don't have 2 case studies, right? So this specific person targets primarily consultants and agency owners, as well as coaches. And a coach or a consultant and agency owner who does not have 2 case studies will typically not be financially qualified or skill-wise qualified. Maybe they're not committed enough, right? They're still kind of trying to go from 0 to 1. They're not going 1 to 10, right? And the specific person I'm thinking of targets people who are trying to go from 1 to 10, right? People who have made some progress and just want to level up their skill. And you can do the same thing regardless of what niche you are in, right? I'll give you another example with the fitness space. If you find out that people who have less than 20 pounds to lose are 10 times less likely to close, right? Because they don't experience enough pain in their life because they're not overweight enough, as weirdly as that sounds. Well, in your content, you can call that out, and you can call out specific pain points now, right? It comes to niching down on your ICP or your qualified ICP that only people with 20 pounds to lose or more will experience or are more likely to experience, right? Like joint pain, ability walking up the stairs, things like this. And this comes down to the final point, and that's actually tracking your qualification rates. No one does this, but it's so important, right? We have a VA with my content partner who tracks our followers per day, right? Which we deem as leads with specifically the content funnel, right? With Instagram, and qualified followers per day. We have specific criteria, which comes down to niching down on your ICP and understanding who you want to target. Specific criteria we set out that make someone a qualified follower, and that could be them being from a specific country, them having a specifically optimized profile versus someone being an ordinary lead. And as we try new content styles, we see how do those content styles shift this ratio, right? So if we test a new content style and we see that we're now at a, let's say 5% ratio of qualified followers to everyone else who's following us, who are just ordinary people, who just don't match our offer, well, we know we need to change something, okay? And you can literally do the same. We do it with a Google Sheet. You can be more advanced. Just have a VA do it or do it yourself if you have the time to. Now let's speak about your conversion, right? Your funnel. So this is the application page and everything that comes after someone watches your content and, let's say, clicks the link in your bio or DMs you a call to action. The first thing you need to do with your conversion process of turning someone from just a viewer, a lead, a follower into a customer is positioning, okay? How you position your conversion process. And if I give you an example of a VSL page, if you have a VSL page, right, your eyebrow line, so the little text, right above the headline, right? You have your headline, you have your subheadline. So it's almost like a subheadline above your headline. You can call out the specific avatar you are targeting. So if it was for us, for example, it would be new training reveals how coaches making 10K per month can actually scale to 6 figures. That's just a random example. Now that calls out specifically coaches who are at 10K per month, and it disqualifies everyone who's not at that. And it just essentially makes them not interested in watching the VSL on that page because they just don't feel like they're going to get help for it, right? And that serves us because, well, now we're not going to have unqualified leads watch the VSL and book a call with us. Now, the next thing you can do with your conversion process is geographic redirection, okay? Super simple. Not enough people use this, to be fair, but it's extremely easy to set up geo-targetly. It's like $20 a month, and you can literally plug this in to your page. This is something we use with creators who have a bigger third world country audience, and literally every time someone lands on a opt-in page, whatever your funnel is, right, if you have a funnel as your conversion process, they will be redirected to a different page instead of your main page. This is a game changer for the cost. For $20 a month, this saves thousands, tens of thousands, to be fair, in sales reps time, right, if you convert it. And it saves us a lot of time with managing the lead flow, right? We don't have to disqualify people down the line. This also works really well if you have a downsell or a disqualification page, right? So if you have a main product like a mentorship that's high ticket, right, and someone from a third world country lands on it, well, instead of just losing them and redirecting them to an unknown page, you can redirect them to a low ticket page, okay? And that just keeps your main pipeline clean. Super simple, geo-targetly. Check it out. I'm not actually affiliated with them, but it has been a game changer. The third conversion fix is qualifying your income in your application form, right? Or quiz funnel, whatever you do, whatever it is that you do. This comes back to the first point I made when I started this video, right? This is such a easy mistake to avoid, right? Because just asking people directly how much money they have to invest, the amount of friction that causes. First of all, no one tells you the truth. If you ask them, you know, how much money can you spend, or how much can you afford to spend on a mentorship? A lot of people just lie. You know, think about yourself. If someone asks you how much money you can spend on a mentorship, well, you might be a very honest person, right? And you might tell them the truth, but it might be the opposite, right? You might try to save money, so you're just going to give the lowest amount, right? And that's what people unfortunately end up doing, okay? Because the question is very intrusive at its core, right? And they want to run away from it. And a lot of people just do, right? And they don't even answer that question. They just click off. So instead of asking how much you can invest, you can reframe the question according to your niche. Or you could even get strategic and just not ask this question in general and qualify people in a different way if this question just causes way too much friction, right? And if you still need to qualify people on income. Before I tell you about the reframe, let me tell you a little bit about the strategic part. We ran a coaching offer, a fitness coaching offer to $1 million per month from 100K per month. There was a full 90-minute breakdown on my channel. I'll link it in the description here under this video. But with the funnel we were running with that offer, asking people for their money directly would have been just a disaster. So instead of just asking people how much they can invest, we reverse engineered how much they make based on their job. We looked at what jobs people work from our onboarding form that are most likely to afford the program and what average income levels those jobs put them at. And we found out, I believe it was 40,000 pounds per year. So instead of asking people how much they were able to invest, we started asking them, does your job affect your weight loss, right? Do you work a sedentary job? Is there a lot of stress that could cause weight gain? And then we would ask them, I'm just curious, like, what's your occupation? And from there, the person would answer, and the setter, the sales staff would be able to go to Google and, look up accountant, average wage in the UK, right? Or average annual income in the UK. And they would get that number. And if it was above 30,000, 40,000, the person wouldn't have to be hard vetted. If it was under that, then the person would be vetted with the lowest cost of the program. So that made things extremely easy. Now, in terms of right, if you do have a program where you can just ask, or a funnel where you can ask people for direct capital, right, how much they have to invest, reframe it, right? I can give you an example of this that we ran with Ali. This is a trader. We scaled him. He was at 1,000 followers at the time, scaled him to 40K per month with just 1,000 people in his audience. We could not afford the friction of asking a direct investment question because it would have just plummeted our application rate. We wouldn't have made probably 10,000 because he had a younger audience and he didn't have as much trust in the space yet, right? He had a newer audience. So we reframed that question to literally asking them, but in order to succeed with trading, you need money to succeed with. Which amount of capital best describes how much capital you can allocate to scale your trading, right? And then we gave them gamified answers in the type form, like building or starting out under 1,000, laying the foundations 1,000 to 3,000, and so on and so forth, right? So instead of asking them how much do you have to invest in a program, we asked them how much capital do they have to grow their trading. And that's what allowed us to hit 40K with just 1K followers. We didn't create massive friction. We still qualified people, and we hit a 14K day with this guy. Another great example where we had to battle an unqualified audience is Aaron. Okay, Aaron is another trader. We got him to 50K per month. Craziest thing, because Aaron is a trader who has a brand with an 90% Indian audience. I have nothing against Indians, again, but it's just a fact, right? It's lower buying power. So with Aaron, the biggest change that we made was literally implementing a so a $47 downsell offer. He, of course, was able to retain his high ticket. The biggest needle mover with Aaron was this. Okay, it wasn't the application page, it was geo-targeting. Now, every time someone would land on his page from a third world country, they would go to the low ticket. We printed from the low ticket. We then had a mid-ticket upsell as well for $247, and I generated a lot of money. And then anyone who landed from a first world country would then go to the application page, right, because of their IP. And then we actually did have people from third world countries who succeeded with the low ticket and the mid ticket, and then ascended into Aaron's high ticket mentorship program. The big thing with having a downsell, if you do have a disqualified audience and use geo-targetly, is the fact that you're not just kind of like throwing these people, out, right? You're still able to help them, right? So if you have a course, you have a downsell that they can afford, right? So if it's $30, $40, somewhere around that, they're still getting help from you, right? They're still making progress to some degree. And if your downsell, if your course, whatever your downsell is, whatever your low ticket offer is, if it's good, they're going to be able to see success. A portion of them will see success and be able to then ascend into your high ticket program as well. It just focuses on actually serving, your audience, regardless of their location. Now in total, 3 conversion qualification mechanisms and traffic mechanisms has helped us generate over $7 million in client revenue. And if you're a creator, coach, or operator, agency owner who is struggling to qualify people, who is struggling to scale your coaching program, or not even struggling, maybe you're finding it a little bit challenging, right? And you want to scale faster. Below this video, I have included a link in the description to another page where I break down all the mechanisms that we use to generate over $7 million for clients. And these include both traffic and conversion mechanisms. That's a link you can click if you want to learn more. And on that page, if you want to learn more after watching the video breaking down these mechanisms, you can also book a call, a free business audit call with me. On that business audit call, I'm going to audit your business and give you the next 3 steps your business needs and you need to take in order to keep moving forward and scale at a faster pace. And if we align on that call, me and my team can help you implement those steps on a done for you basis to help you scale faster.